Hey, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Andrew Snorton with Creative Community Solutions. And as you're aware, we're fortunate to cover a lot of people, a lot of different events on our own, from sports, arts and entertainment, government and politics, community, and more. And I'm really excited with the power of technology to be able to connect with someone who is running for public office. So we're excited to have straight from the Midwest. I'm going to make sure that it's done right. I'm going to have her introduce herself. So thank you so much for being on with us. Let people know your name and what part of the Midwest you're based out of.
All right. Yes, thank you. So my name is Tiara Mays and I live in Johnston, Iowa. So I'm running for the school board in Johnston Community School District. The first question I get asked usually when I tell people I'm from Iowa is, are there Black people in Iowa? Yes, which because there are Black people in Iowa, that's one of the reasons I want to run for school board. To representation matters. I think we all can agree with that. So the suburb that I live in, there's a lot of students of color and they deserve to be represented on their school board, their administration building, in their classes. And that's one thing that I really want to focus on. My child is in this district and I want her to be able to see people that look like her in leadership positions. Funny enough, today we were going to basketball practice and one of the families was new to the team and she was introducing herself to my daughter. And so I talked to the mom. I said, yeah, hi, my name's Tiara. And my daughter goes, she's running for the school board. And she said it in such a way like, oh, my mom is it. My mom is, she's head honcho. I'm like, I haven't won an election yet, kid, but I appreciate it. So it's instances like that. She's proud. She's really proud of that. And it's not just because she's my daughter. Her friends are proud. They got to ride in a parade with me. They like to see it. So that's the hugest reason why I'm running.
And I'm glad you shared that. And I know not only just identification matters, and then knowing that your peers, immediate and then indirect, are saying, hey, there's something about this person. Before we really go a little bit deeper in regards to your platform, give us a little bit of a snapshot of some of your professional moving parts and your community moving parts, which you feel kind of were leading you up to this point.
Yeah. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in Iowa. My family is originally from Detroit. We moved here when I was 10 years old for my dad's job. And I went to Iowa State University. I have a degree in psychology. I love to help people. So that's really what led me in that direction. After working for a few years in human services, I made a career switch into the financial industry. And I loved it. I became a Series 6 limited financial broker, learning about annuities, and I was getting to talk to millionaires every day, just everyday millionaires and their financial advisors. And for a kid from Detroit, I didn't know that there were people walking around that just had all this money. And so it fascinated me, and that led me to go back to school to get an MBA. So I went to Purdue University Global, got my MBA, and that's when I fell in love with the financial business. I currently am a contract negotiator for a managed care health insurance company, and that's just a fancy term for I negotiate rates with hospitals and physicians and anybody that you could basically go see for medical care. Outside of that, I've always been, my heart is service. I've been a avid servant since I was a child. My very first volunteer opportunity was, I was probably in second or third grade. And I volunteered to be a peer mentor for the children in our special education class at my elementary school. And most of the children had autism. And I'm pointing that out because it's amazing to me how God works. So that's the first time I ever had contact with anyone with autism. It's my first act of service, which Now I have my own children. I have twins, and my son, he is autistic. And so I feel life is full circle. And what I do now is I'm an advocate for parents for children with disabilities. When we first started noticing that my son had some delays, it was a tough task getting help for him. And I just refused to take no for an answer. So whoever I needed to call, if they said I had to wait, and sometimes these waiting lists were like 3 years, I would just call every day, every single day, until they gave me what I wanted. So from that, I became a children's book author. It's called Twin Chronicles, and it is the first book is written in my daughter's perspective and how she plays with her twin brother. And it's just an informational piece for kids to learn how to play with their differently abled peers. The second book is written in my nephew's perspective. Same concept, it's just written in his voice. And it goes, it just follows how my son talks and communicates with his cousin that day. I'm also a contributor for Autism Parenting magazine, and I've written personal narratives for the magazine, just discussing our story. From that led me to be able to start consulting with parents in similar situations, and helping them to know their options. So I sit through IEP meetings, individual education plans. I sit with the parents through that just so they can have an advocate, giving them an opportunity to make sure that they get all the questions that they have answered. I help some moms research services in their state. So there's about 24 women that I've talked to, and I dedicate my Saturday mornings to helping them. I'll set up a Zoom call and I just let them vent and tell me what they need. And I don't charge anything. I can't find a way to turn that into a business. I wouldn't want to. So it's just, I do it from my heart. I'm a board member for the Red Cross here in Central Iowa. So I'm an advocate for diverse blood. Specifically, we know that sickle cell anemia is a huge issue in the African-American community. And I really advocate to get us out to donate blood so that we can help our brothers and sisters in that aspect. And then I'm also a board member for this organization called Investing in My Future. And that organization works with kids to help them become successful after high school. And I'm going to put emphasis on successful after high school and not go to college after high school, because that's not everybody's path. So it's a long-winded version of everything that I do.
Well, no, I wouldn't necessarily say long-winded. It's showing the depth, the detail, and dedication, not only through what you do professionally, but being community engaged, and especially not only just firsthand with family. We know autism is something that shows up in schools. We also know that, like you said, everyone doesn't have to go to a 4-year or 2-year in order to be successful. So being successful after high school could be trade, it could be technical, it could be military, it could be going and getting your real estate license or things along those lines. So I'm glad you shared all that. And that leads into my next question. Given all those moving parts, professional, community, family, what would you say was a motivating factor for you to take it to the next level and be a proactive part of school board, knowing that school board is basically that policy making piece?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really it would be my family, my son in particular, and my daughter. So my son in our district, the district that we live in, I felt he didn't get a fair shake. They were aware of his abilities and they could not meet the care that he needed. And for me, there was no worse feeling than feeling helpless, as though your child's just not getting what they need. And much like I did when I first found out that he was autistic, I started learning the law. I started learning policies. I started learning what his rights were, because as long as he couldn't speak, I wanted to make sure that I could speak for him. And when I walked into a room, that no one could take advantage of the fact that I didn't know what was going on. And sometimes when you're walking into these doctors' offices or the teachers, classrooms, for conferences. They're the experts. They start pushing graphs in front of you and using all of this lingo that they use every day. And it gives the impression that they are in charge, and they're not. Actually, as a parent, you are in charge. You are in charge of your child's education and what you want to see for them. And so once I learned that mindset, I was able to be a better advocate for my child. But I knew that if I was going through this, there were other people that were going through it. It's always been a lot easier for me to help fight for others than even for myself. And I have the blessing of my mother works in healthcare. I'm a nerd by nature, so I can sit and read stuff all day, and looking at legal documents is no concern for me. But for those families that get overwhelmed, and it is a lot, that is where I really wanted to step in and help with that. So I want to be the voice for the voiceless. Our district, when you look at the numbers and everything, they're performing exceptionally. That's great. Looks like we got that all under control. It is now time for the district to start paying attention to that 20 or 30% of kids that are not meeting the expectations or benchmark scores. And it's to me, it's important. There's no child that's disposable. I feel it's important that they get a fair shake also. That's why I'm running.
And I'm glad you explained that. And that kind of leads into my next question. You kind of already answered it, but what would you say are key parts of your platform that you would want your constituents to be more informed about?
Sure. So the first thing, as I mentioned, I'm in an organization and we focus on our students becoming successful after high school. So my top priority is for our district to look at curriculum and review it. Success is not linear. It can't be right now, and this is all across America. Our teachers, our school districts, we are teaching our kids how to take tests so that we can find out what they know. But you and I know that that's not the best indicator for what a child knows. Furthermore, everybody needs to learn a skill. That's how you're going to make it out in this world. You need to find a skill. You need to figure out what you're good at and be good enough at it so someone can pay you for it. Education, trade, anything. And we've got to put more emphasis on getting our students exposure to finding a skill set before they get to college. And college now is $100,000 to get a 4-year degree. It's insane. So when our kids graduate, they really need to know what they want to do. They really need to know what path they're taking. So that's the top of my platform, is to review curriculum and really find a way to get our students more involved in skilled training and not just learn how to take a test so we can keep getting funding. Second is equal access to resources. You'd be surprised the disparities that take place. And it's things that when you don't have proper representation in leadership that you wouldn't think of. As I mentioned, I live in an affluent suburb. Not that I'm wealthy, but a lot of people in the district are. They're missing a perspective on a lot of things, and that there needs to be a voice at the table. So for instance, in 2019, there were 298 students that were enrolled in pre-K. That's pre-K. We know if a child goes to preschool, they'll get to kindergarten and they are set up much better to learn how to read, identify their numbers, whole plethora of things. Out of those 298 students, 199 of them were white. Here's why. It's a half a day and there's no transportation provided. The assumption is that all households have 2 people in it. All households have someone to transport. All households have the ability to accommodate a 4-hour schedule for their student. You have to figure something else out. If we want to see continuous growth in the district, That has to be changed. In our district, 50% of the African-American students are not meeting benchmark scores for reading and math. Well, if they're not going to preschool, it's a direct correlation. It's a direct correlation. And so these are disparities that I want us to look at. And then the third thing, parental empowerment. One key concept that I really want to bring to the district is called parent training. And it's something that I learned in one of my son's therapies. He was in ABA therapy, and as a part of the program, I had to take training every week. And they would sit down with me and they would teach me what they were teaching him and how I can implement it at home. If I missed, he was out of the program. One thing about public school is that they push a lot of stuff at you. Registration can be really intimidating. You've got all these forms, you've got to sign this, you got to get this back. And then, they don't tell you what any of it means. You get a 15-minute conference and they've got graphs coming at you and your child needs to be more fluent in this. And I'll never forget, I had to ask my daughter's teacher. She kept saying, well, Tiana's reading fluency is not well. I'm like, well, what do you mean? What is reading fluency? Are you saying she can't read? Oh no, she can read. She's just not reading fast enough. Well, why didn't you say that? So parental empowerment, teaching our parents how to be able to advocate and know what's going on in school. COVID happened. I didn't have any idea what my kids were learning until they were at home and I was the teacher. So those are the three things that I'm really interested in. And I'm passionate about it, as you can tell, probably. It is my passion. So yeah.
And I'm glad again that you walked through it. So in our conversation, however you want to phrase it, you've articulated again the lens of a professional, the lens of a parent, the lens of, I'll say, community advocacy. You have an understanding of policy and how it can work. It's also, like you said before, access to resources. One thing I want to touch base on is the growing diversity where you are. Where do you see your skill sets and expertise? If provided this opportunity, how would it help in regards to diversity, whether it's the ethnic background, the learning styles, the things along those lines? How do you think all of that could parlay into being that resource, an even greater resource than what you are right now?
Sure. So yeah, first, our district is growing, and especially it's becoming more diverse. And right now, 30% of the students are of color. And there's a few reasons behind that. One is because of the companies that we have in the city. And then two, there's also a low income housing complex that's here. And it has a lot of children in it, a lot of Black children. And for me, I am not a politician. I am a mom. I refuse to censor myself. My passion is my passion. So I'm saying it. A lot of Black children live there. And the perspective that I can bring is I've been on a lot of paths in my life. I've been poor. I've been okay. I've had salary increases. I've lost a whole bunch of money, all the things. My kids have been on free and reduced lunch before. I was on free and reduced lunch as a kid. These are things that, quote unquote, not everyone understands. The privilege that resides in a lot of our students. And our board members know it's there, but they're providing the privilege. So they're not sure how to change it. And the only way you can change it is if you have direct access to people that have gone through it. One example that I use is a few years ago, we had a carnival in our city, and they have it every year. And our kids were really excited to go to it. We get there, there's a game booth or whatever, and one of the prizes is a Confederate flag. This is a prize. And I go, I tell our mayor this story, and in front of the school board, and they're all looking shocked. I'm like, don't look shocked. Y'all was at the carnival. You saw it. You allow high school students to have Confederate flags. My thing I told them is, I'm like, but why would city officials allow Confederate flags to be flown and given as a prize for an event that you're holding? And they all just kind of sat there silent. And I said, okay, I'll tell you why. Because you didn't have anyone at the table to tell you not to do it, to tell you that that is a really bad idea, to tell you that that is going to offend someone. That's why representation and diversity on leadership boards and people that are making decisions, you have to come from a diverse background. The other thing with our district is I moved here for a facility called Child Serve. This is a medical system that helps children with special needs. That's why I came here for my son. So imagine my disappointment when I get to the district that is directly next to a major facility for kids with disabilities, and the district does not have a great plan for them. So all those things kind of encompass how I can help. Like I said, I just have a diverse background myself. I have a lot of different things that I can offer, a lot of different perspectives that I want to bring to the table, and I think would be beneficial for a good portion of our students. Not the majority of students, but I think it's a substantial amount because they deserve representation also.
And again, I'm glad you shared that. The importance of representation, no matter how small or how big, your voice is still your voice. Advocacy, access to resources. And again, what you're sharing is encompassing of the best of what you are doing as a parent, as a professional, as a community steward, and things of that nature. As we get ready to gradually wind down, there's two things I'd like to ask that I want you to leave with people. The first thing is, as you're continuing this journey of elevated community advocacy, because when you're on a board and you're dealing with schools and you're dealing with people, that is dealing with the community. Mm-hmm. Of the things that you've learned on this part of your journey, what is one takeaway? I know there's a lot, but what's one takeaway that you'd like to leave with people, not only for the people who are in your district, but for anyone who is thinking about going this direction? What would you say is one nugget that you'd like to drop, one gem you'd like to drop, so to speak?
Sure. If there was one gem that I would have to drop, is just, if you're even considering it, just do it. I've learned so much during this process. I mean, so much, things that I had no idea that I was even capable of, but there was really something inside me. And I'm a faithful woman. I'm a religious woman. So it really is almost as though I just kind of heard God telling me, do this step, take this step. And I knew when it was time to do it because I didn't sleep for 72 hours before I actually announced. And in those 72 hours, I built a website for the first time. I learned how to create my election committee, signed up for my EIN, all these things. And I did not sleep because I was super focused. You know when it's time to step into your destiny and into your passion. I'd been sitting on this for years. I didn't just wake up one day. It's something that's been on my heart for quite some time, but when the time was right, I just listened. I was obedient. So my nugget is, one, just do it. And two, you'll be surprised at what you can get done when you're determined. Like I said, I'm not a politician, I'm a mom. And that's the one thing that I've led with this entire campaign, because I'm talking from experience. I have been adamant with a lot of the counterparts that I've met in this process. I'm not talking strategy with anybody. I'm not going to let you politic me. I'm here I have a purpose. And you can get it done. And you'll be surprised just at what you're capable of. So I'll stop there. That's been the one thing that I would really I drop. Just do it. If you've got anything, if you that small of an inkling, just do it. Just do it.
Well, I tell you what, you've definitely made sure to make that Nike slogan just stand out a little bit more, just beyond the playing field. So as we get ready to conclude, let our audience know what are the best ways for people to find out more about your campaign, your platform, the best ways to support, and the best ways to interface. And in addition to that, especially for people that are in your vicinity, district, what have you, reminders regarding if there is voting, early voting, when that window is, and just a reminder of election day, because some people think, well, because it's not an even year, we don't have to worry about it. But remember, local elections, ladies and gentlemen, those are probably the most important, because that's what you have to deal with each and every day. So again, what are the preferred ways for people to find out more about your campaign, platforms, lending support, and then please provide reminders regarding the early voting windows as well as election day windows.
Perfect. Yes, yes. So I have been really active on Facebook. That is the best way to contact me. My Facebook page is Tiara, Tiara for Johnston. That's also my Instagram page. My Gmail, Tiara for Johnston. So Tiara for Johnston at Gmail. You can send me an email. My website is also, everything's Tiara for Johnston, tiaraforjohnston.org. Those are the preferred ways. Facebook, I have really, I'm not a politician. We didn't have any money. So I made the best out of the resource that's free. And we've been killing it, to be honest. We've been killing it. Democratic Party is stealing a lot of my strategies, but it's going great. So if you do follow me on Facebook, please like, share everything for the next 7 days, because the election is November 2nd. Early voting, it's over. Iowa has voter suppression. It is what it is. If you are in the Johnston area, in the Johnston Community School District, please vote on November 2nd. You can go to the Secretary of State's website to find your polling place. That's the best way to do it. We did have a little bit of early voting. Our satellite poll place was today, so that's gone, and absentee ballots need to be in by Tuesday, 5 p.m., November 2nd. So at this point, if you have not mailed it, just go vote in person. Our early numbers look good for the Democratic side, although I will make the disclaimer, these are supposed to be nonpartisan positions. But yeah, so that's how you can vote. That's how you can get a contact with me. And I appreciate the platform.
Well, I tell you what, anyone that has their share of moving parts, we're grateful for you to take and make time for us. And again, for folks that are in that particular area, please take note of the information that's shared. But just in general, for everybody, remember, for some places, not only where we're talking about in Iowa, but in other spaces and places, it's election season still. So please take time to research candidate platforms, engage with them in those preferred manner, and just be engaged and informed. So I want to thank Ms. Mays for taking time out of her schedule. We wish her tremendous success, not only for everything leading up to Tuesday, but beyond Tuesday, as this is definitely going to be a voice and a presence that's going to be around for a while. We want you to be around. We need you to be around. And that goes for anyone else who is constructively looking for ways to help bridge the gap and help provide access to resources. So we will have this available on our YouTube channel of Creative Community Solutions, and we'll also have this as part of our written article and recap. So when that comes out, make sure to go ahead and share, get the information out, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay encouraged. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our talk. We thank you so much, and we'll look forward to doing this again in the not too distant future. Everybody, take good care.